Hi, I'm Kelly from the Royal Bee Yarn Company.
And I'm Tony, I'm Kelly's husband.
And
also at the Royal Bee Yarn Company. And this is episode 5 of our vlog.
And it means that we're going into week 6 of the shop being shut down and the social distancing measures where we're all supposed to be at home. And of course we're at home, but we're also at the shop, which is like our second home, and nobody else is here, so it's all very safe. And our shop is in Pacifica, California, and in addition to the shop, we also have our own yarn brand, which is available online. You should do some squishing with our own
like
yarn,
the way you do that.
right? Yeah? Hey.
Look at us squishing. Slow motion squishing.
And these two colors actually are not available on our website. We just had a really hard time photographing the like highly variegated. And the other one is new, and that just needs to go up, which I haven't done yet. So
love the colors in this one.
Thanks.
It's like the ocean.
It's, you know what, that is the only colorway that it actually runs a little bit. It's, you know, it's got a lot of indigo in there, so it comes off on your hands a little bit because of course all of our yarns are natural dyed, but you just wash your hands off and let it soak, and it all takes care of itself after one good soak.
I remember why I called this water lily garden. This is called Rosie's French water lily garden because I thought it looked like a Monet painting.
Oh, thanks.
Remember we were naming them?
Yeah,
that's quite
that
interesting.
was a lot of
So we
fun.
should talk about that maybe.
Actually, somebody asked us to talk about the
how did we
names
come up with
and
the
how we
names?
came up with them. So maybe we'll.
That was a fun day.
That was a really fun day. Maybe we'll do that later.
Yeah,
We
let's
should
do that
talk
later
about
in the
that.
show. Yeah.
Yeah.
How we came up with the names.
Good idea. Okay, so we're gonna do that, and we're also we have a special guest. We have our second special guest, which is Nina from
Speckled Finch.
Speckled Finch Studios. She's a friend. She's an awesome dyer, and she has beautiful yarn. And we're gonna be telling you about that. And everything else is just gonna be, well, it turns out we're gonna talk about the how we named our yarn.
Yes. So all coming up in a very exciting episode 5.
Episode 5.
Return of the
Number 5 is
Dyer.
alive.
That's a great reference.
So what's new with you?
What's new with me, Cal? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked me that. Not a lot really. It's I'm continuing to teach. I've started videoing stories and sending them to the teachers so they can send to their kids if they want to do that.
That was super cute. I had never heard Cat in the Hat Part 2.
Yeah, Cat in the Hat comes back.
Oh. Sequel.
Yeah, that was hard. Dr. Seuss is really hard to read if you're a parent and you have to read to your kids and you want to do it flawlessly. Dr. Seuss is really challenging. A lot of hard rhymes and combinations of words, but I love that story because it's the one that's spoiling too much. It's the one where he takes his hat off and you see what he keeps under his hat. It's quite amazing.
It's quite amazing.
And when I was a kid, it was magical. It's one of the first books I ever read when I was a kid. We had Dr. Seuss books in our classroom and I thought they were great. I loved them, and I could read them when I was 5, which was great. Yeah. Yeah. So, and apart from that, been exercising more.
We ordered an exercise bike, so we now have an exercise bike in our garage.
So I've been exercising, doing a lot of I'm trying to get my credential to be an assistant principal.
Yep.
So that's a lot of work, a lot of reading and writing.
Yeah, a lot of work.
What else is new? I watched all the Hunger Games movies. I don't know why. I fell down a rabbit hole and started watching the Hunger Games movies, and that was interesting. The last 2 were very long.
I feel like dystopian futures aren't a good thing for us to be watching right now.
No, I know. And when I watch the Hunger Games, it makes me want to read The Giver, which was a book by Lois Lowry, which preceded the Hunger Games, and it's basically a much more interesting, more intelligent version of the Hunger Games. So if you're a fan of the Hunger Games, you want a more interesting and intelligent version of the Hunger Games, read the Giver series of books by Lois Lowry. They are really good.
Top tip.
Top tip there. Top
Tony's
reading
top
tip.
tip.
Yeah. Talking of top tips,
What?
the potato has started growing.
I knew it was going to make an appearance at some stage because it was
One of our friends, Patricia, she's been growing potatoes, and the results she's been getting have been
They're
amazing.
phenomenal.
I hope she brings them on the show when
One
all this
day.
nastiness is over. But our potato, which I introduced, it's turned a lovely shade of green, and there's some rooty things coming off the top.
We're just going to keep bringing that potato out. I have a feeling. We'll see how it progresses.
Love potatoes. I've been eating a lot of potatoes lately.
Oh, and somebody wrote to me and said, oh, what we should do. Actually, it was Christy. It wasn't a somebody. It was a friend, Christy. And she was like, you should come out with a colorway that is, and name it something with yams because of our, for those of you who didn't see, I think it was episode 2, I don't know, whatever. We have some construction going on outside. They're making sure that the building is earthquake proof, but also making it look better, we think. We'll see when it's all done. But they're allowed to continue to do the safety aspect of the construction, and then unfortunately they'll have to stop too. But when they did
they changed the sign. They gave us a temporary sign, and they filled with the
Royal Bee Yam Company. So
it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's where the potato.
It was only up for 1 day, so if you manage to see that sign, that's kind of like
we took a picture of it.
Special.
Yeah.
That was, they changed it, which was really nice. That must have cost them a bit of money to make a new sign, but
yeah, well,
yeah,
you know. I didn't want people accidentally thinking that there was a yam shop that had opened up. Where the yarn shop. Yeah. You never know. Could be a strategic pivot if necessary.
Yeah.
So.
I like yams.
I like yams too. I like your roasted yams.
Make good roasted yams. That was covered in episode 2.
That was covered in episode 2. My love of Tony's cooking.
So Kelly, what's new with you?
Well, it's been a really good week, really busy week. We did the Casapinka Breathe and Hope LYS Day that wasn't really an LYS Day because the LYS Day has been postponed, but Casapinka put out the pattern anyway, and we were like, okay, let's go. And so we spent some time putting together a bunch of different colorways. My friend Trish from Carpe Yarn helped me put together a bunch of different color combinations, which was super helpful. She's a designer. Her color sensibility is fantastic. And we got lots of support. Thanks everybody who bought an LYS Day kit.
I was busy delivering.
So, yeah, it was
So if you
fun.
got yarn in the last 2 days, that's me.
It was probably
and you as well.
I did some.
No, we did.
Yeah,
we
I did some last night.
I did some on Saturday, and Kelly did some on. We both did on Friday.
It's such a nice thing that the designer Casapinka did for LYSs. I think there were like 600 of us that participated, just to help us drum up a little bit of extra business. And she provided codes so that if people bought the kits, then you could get the pattern free of charge on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Of course, by the time we put this up, which will be tonight because it's Sunday.
That's my job for Sunday night.
Yep, Sunday night job. It'll be over, but that's okay because there's a Brooklyn Boy knits pattern that's come out, and I'm going to put together some DK weight mini skeins that are the right size. I have a skein maker and all the equipment, but I'll tell you more about that on Instagram. That's boring. But what isn't boring is that I wanted to do a shout out for Rodney because it was his birthday yesterday. This is Rodney of Rodney and Charles, the most beautiful, stylish pattern couple. Oh yeah, Sugar Addicts is Rodney's Instagram handle, and they're just the most beautiful people. They're beautiful on the outside, but my gosh, they are beautiful
They're
on
beautiful
the inside.
guys. And also another beautiful guy, his birthday was...
Oh yeah, Ron.
Ron.
And Ron, actually, we have the benefit of being able to celebrate a little bit of his birthday with him because he was on our virtual Stitch night, which was yesterday. And he also teaches our sock class. So when we get back to getting together again, after all of this is over, you could meet Ron in a sock class if you were ever in the area. He's really great. Merman Fibers.
Mm-hmm.
So we miss seeing everybody a lot. And I think if Rodney and Charles were around, they might even come in like singing and dancing, and they have so much positive. They're just such incredibly positive people, and we love them. And every time they come into the shop, they just lift the whole atmosphere. They're lovely, lovely,
I'm very
lovely
sleepy
people.
today. I'm
Are
sorry.
you?
If I yawn, I apologize, but I did not sleep well last night. I think there was a coyote outside the window or something.
There were coyotes, and also it smelled like smoke at one stage.
Yeah.
Which was kind of scary. I think somebody just had maybe their fireplace going or a barbecue or something, but...
So, one of the questions that somebody asked on YouTube was how we came up with our names for that.
And thank you for sending in questions, and keep them coming because...
Yeah, any idea, any suggestions,
we
please?
Need them.
Yeah. What to do on the show.
Yes, please.
So this is one of the things we're going to talk about is how we came up with the names of our colorways. And when we got the yarn, it was very exciting. We do have videos somewhere of us opening our first box.
Actually, the delivery truck with the
crates.
Yeah.
And we got all these amazing colors. And I've always thought that when you associate things with food, it sets up a kind of, I don't know, primal, instinct in you. So I thought, let's try and name them after food if possible. So, when the yarn arrived, we had to go on vacation. And we went to Cuba, which you can't do at the moment, but you can. We went to Cuba. We went on a cruise to Cuba. We're not that tough. We went on a cruise to Cuba. And while we were on the ship with Cuba all around us, we were sat on the deck. And we said, let's do this. Let's name our yarns. And that's what we did. We spent a couple of hours on the deck with coffees, with Havana right in front of us, and we named all these yarns.
And my mom was with us. She helped us in the process.
And it was such a fun experience, and it's just so nice to know that we were in Cuba. It's such a great memory, a happy memory of when we named these yarns.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about the colorways now? Yeah,
and one of the other things is that originally when I opened up the shop, for me, I'd rather not eat and have yarn.
Oh, that's right.
If it was kind of like a choice. And also it's like being a kid in a candy shop. And originally I thought I'm going to go with all these jars that are filled with yarn like candy and so on and so forth. There were all kinds of food, and we love food, and Tony's an amazing cook, and all these sort of food connections, which was part of the kind of thinking behind it. And then the other aspect was I always is it OPI or OP? I never really know. The nail polish company, and they always do these really funny, silly names like Lincoln Park After Dark, which maybe isn't that funny, but
memorable names though.
Yeah, memorable, fun names. And so we knew going into it, we wanted it to be kind of food related, and we wanted it to be fun.
But also we wanted to name it after the people who had supported us for that first year.
Yeah, gosh, we've just had so many people who became our community here. And it's growing, and we have new people that become community members all the time.
And please come and join us. Well,
when you can.
Come and hang out at the shop. And be part of
when
the
you
community.
can. Yeah.
So the names, the people who were named were those first.
Yeah, just people who just did so much to help
to support us.
Yeah.
So what's the first color?
Well, I'm just going to show a couple. Maybe we'll tell this when we'll interview every. Hey, So what we should do is we'll interview each person who has a color name named after them at some stage, but I'll just do a couple.
Yeah, okay.
So this is Marisol is Plum Diddly Delumptious. And Marisol has been coming to the shop since day one. And she is just a phenomenal knitter. She's incredibly kind. She, I believe she exclusively buys all of her yarn and notions from me. She's just a really staunch supporter. But also in the early days when I was by myself on days, she was always here to greet customers if I needed to pop to the restroom or something like that. She'd cover me. She's just wonderful. I love her so much. She's you know, we've been friends now for 3 years, and she's incredibly dear. Love her. Maybe not quite 3 years. I guess it'll be 3 years at the end of July. We will have known each other. And she's originally from Chile, and she, it just speaks to the kind of colors that she loves, and she loves burgundies and purples and just all the kind of like beautiful rich jewel tone kind of colors. And then this yarn is Glamour Jane is Pretty in Pink Frosting, and Glamour Jane, not to be confused with Honey Jane, who also has a yarn named after her. Glamour Jane does my she modeled all of the garments that were made out of my yarn for me, and she's a very beautiful and smart person and a great friend.
Stylish.
Very stylish. And
very intelligent.
Before I had any sample in the shop, any samples made in the shop whatsoever, she brought in a whole bunch of her garments so that I would have stuff to inspire people when they first came in the shop. That was incredibly generous. Speaking of which, I haven't really given those back since I have had samples made out of my own yarn. I probably should. Sorry, Jane. I'll get your stuff back to you.
Yet.
I promise. And then this is Christiana's Fruits of the Deep Blue Sea. She has a second home in Maui. And she has, oh my gosh, she has organized so many things for me from a business perspective. She's introduced me to the company that she works for, and I've done workshops there. And in fact, on Monday, we're having a session with her company, and on Tuesday, we're having a session with her company. She's just been full of helpful ways to allow me to network and introduce the joy and mindfulness of knitting and crochet beyond the shop. And she's a good friend, and I love her. And then this one is Beatrice has Pretty Maids All in a Row. It's kind of that salmony color, and Beatrice is our stitch doctor. So if you, so she's actually our second stitch doctor. Our first stitch doctor, Nina of
Different Nina
of Nina says have your teal cake and eat it too, which is I think completely sold out now. She was our original stitch doctor, but she moved away from Pennsylvania, and Beatrice took over. Beatrice actually has like a master's in knitting, and she's a beautiful person and incredibly kind, and I love her dearly. And oh, do you think that looks good on you? Should I make you a sweater out of that?
Yeah, I do like the colors.
And that one's Beatrice.
I'm gonna squish Beatrice. Sorry,
Squish
Beatrice.
And then this beauty here, which is kind of like a milk chocolatey brown, I would say, variegated, is named after Judy, aka Shop Judy or Shop Angel.
Shop Judy.
Shop Judy, because my mom's name is Judy. So we differentiate Shop Judy and
what's that called?
Mom.
Judy.
This is Judy loves A Catcher in the Dark Rye. Does it remind me of
the
rye
food,
bread?
food.
Yeah, get it?
The literature as well.
Yeah. And
Should I squish
oh
Judy?
my gosh, what would I do without Judy?
I don't know. I'd give her an extra special squish.
Judy is the shop manager. She's in the shop on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. She teaches our beginning sweater class. She teaches our beginning knitting class. Tony's playing with the yarn, which you can't see off camera, by the way. If you wondered what was happening there.
Judy's great because she was at Woodstock and she made hot dogs for Jimi Hendrix.
That's a fun fact. But
I don't know if he actually.
She's also great because I wouldn't be able to do any of this without her. She's with me basically day and night. She helps. She ran her own business, and she's originally from a publishing background. Her father was a publisher, and then she was in the publishing business for years, and we share a lot of that in common. And she was doing photography publishing, and so again, her color sensibility is fantastic. It's better than mine. I basically have stopped trying to I get new yarn and I'm like, oh, Judy, could you put this in, the color order that you think looks best? And it always looks better than what I could do myself. And she keeps me on a straight and narrow path. As a creative, I tend to, and she'll be like, no, file it. So she's wonderful. I love her. She's, I could go on and on about Shop Judy. She's family. We'll
show you some more colors next week.
Yeah,
should we segue?
Yeah. Oh, hey, speaking of Judy, hey, good segue. Good. Judy is why we know Nina.
Our second guest.
Our second guest, Nina. Nina of Speckled Finch Studios. So we were in the shop, and Nina had come in a couple of times, but Judy, to buy things. We're, I guess, probably the shop that's the closest proximity to her, so I guess we're her local. And she came into the shop, and she'd been a couple of times, and Judy wasn't here, and then she came in and Judy was here, and they recognized each other. And they recognized each other from like more than 30 years ago, because it turns out that Nina grew up and was best friends with Judy's daughter, Justine. And they hadn't seen each other for years, maybe.
And this is in a completely different part of the country?
No, San Francisco.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I need to read the story again.
So, so they just, they recognized each other, which I think is phenomenal after all those years, because Justine was just a kid, and Nina was just a kid, and Judy was much younger, and they rekindled their friendship through the shop, Justine and Nina.
I'm sure you'd like to meet us, so let's do that now, shall we?
That was also really clever. But I wanted to talk about her fiber a little bit.
Okay.
Because her fiber is beautiful. Her colorways are spectacular.
Right.
And she has a variety of different bases. Speckled Finch Studios, check them out online. But we're gonna, so we were supposed to have her in the shop, a trunk show to launch the fact that we were going to be carrying her yarn in the store going forward. Unfortunately, due to the timing and all of the stuff going on with COVID and self-isolation, and also the shop being shut, it obviously isn't happening. It's on hold. But we thought we could do this kind of virtually-ish. And so as I'm talking, the idea is that, or in a minute, Tony's going to cut to, you'll see it, it'll be seamless. It's going to be just, like as though some professional videographer
I'll cut to photos of the actual yarn.
Yeah. And then you can take a look at, really professional. You could take a look at some of her beautiful colorways, and she's got a bunch of different bases, and it's just a altogether wonderful person. So since we're isolated, we're doing these Zoom video conferences, and she is our second guest, because we had a FIFA last week, and now we're having Nina this week, and I don't know who we're going to have next week, but we'll ask somebody that we know within our fiber circle. And
kick the table.
Yep. I kicked the table.
Yeah. Okay. Ready?
I'm so ready.
Let's look over to Nina.
Nina. We are recording, and we are here with Nina of Speckled Finch Studios. We were supposed to have a trunk show in May, and we were so excited to introduce this line of yarn, which I'm a huge fan of, into the shop. But COVID got the better of us, and so obviously the shop is shut, but you can buy Nina's fibers on her website directly, and then at some stage we're going to do something super amazing at the shop one of these days, and and get it all together. So this is Nina. She is the dyer, and so we're going to ask her our kind of like, they're going to be standard. She's our second guest, so I guess they're not standard yet, but they will be like our standard questions.
Do you like how I sit with the bag on? Do you like how I've done that?
It's very clever.
Lots of questions.
So Nina, tell us where you grew up.
So I was born in New York and moved to San Francisco when I was 5, and have kind of been here ever since. So this has been home for a long time now.
And what did you want to do when you grew up?
So when I was little, I wanted to be a balancer, dancer, skater.
Wow.
So, yeah. So some kind of combination of gymnast and ballet dancer and ice skater. So that was when I was probably about 6. But later I went into college planning to study pre-law, and then that changed to teaching, and then that's morphed into all sorts of different things since then.
I want to hear a little bit more about this balancer, skater, ballerina. Did you dance when you were little?
I took, kids dance classes and acrobatics classes, and I didn't ever take skating classes, but I apparently thought that was really cool. So some kind of combination was going to be the magical job for me.
We're kind of the same age group, I think. We might even be the same age.
I think we are, yes.
I remember going in Ventura, there was a place called Skating Plus. It may still be there. And at like 6th grade, you'd skate backwards, and it was just, it was all the rage to go to that. Was it like that in Wales?
We had a roller disco on the top of a block of flats. It was kind of seedy. It was in a seedy part of town, but all the kids were into it. I never went. I wasn't into roller skating.
You weren't?
No. Anything with wheels other than bikes. I wasn't really interested. So
I remember roller skating birthday parties and things like that when I was a kid, for sure. Yeah.
It was a big thing in Wales for a while. So you're in San Francisco. Just for people who are not in California, Pacifica is the next town down from San Francisco. We're kind of down on the coast. Just thought I'd put a bit of geography in there.
Oh.
Yeah. It takes me maybe about 10 to 15 minutes to drive from my house to the Royal Bee.
There you go.
And that's how we met. We met at the Royal Bee.
Tell the meeting story. It's really good. Are you doing that now?
I was going to do it. Yeah. I was gonna do a little intro for Nina before.
Oh right. We've already done that.
Yeah. We've done that.
Oh,
We've done that. Yeah. Remember? Yeah. So professional.
Am I asking this question?
Go for it. Yeah.
When you were little, we've done that one. This is so slick. If you were stranded on a desert island and had to eat just one meal over and over again, what would it be?
So it kind of depends. So my first answer would be some kind of sushi, but I don't know that I'd want to eat the same exact kind of sushi over and over again. So if I could have some variety, it would be sushi. And my favorite right now, though, that's not sushi, is I'm loving making jambalaya. So that's kind of my current favorite.
It's pretty good.
I think I see the lawyer tendency coming out in you, in so much as it's like a negotiation of the
Totally.
the rules. I love it.
My family would agree, probably.
And what is your favorite style of music?
You know what? I don't really have one. I listen to all sorts of different kinds of music here and there.
What's the last thing you
I listen to the radio, so I'm not sure. I don't think I can pull out a specific song.
Okay. If you had a box of crayons in front of you, which color would you go for first?
Definitely like a mauve kind of pinky purpley color. That's my jam.
That's your jam. And is that your all-time favorite color? Like a mauve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
What
definitely like I if I'm going to play with color, that's kind of where I lean. I have to push myself sometimes to move out of that a bit. So, yeah.
I love your colors. I'm a
Oh,
super fan of your colorways. So you have a phenomenal sense of color, actually. Absolutely beautiful.
thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome. And what was your journey to becoming a yarn dyer?
So I've been a knitter for about 15 years. And back in like early 2017, I think I came across a video of someone demonstrating how to dye yarn. And I just thought it was really looked like a lot of fun. And so I got some supplies and I played around with it and I kind of fell in love. It was just really fun to mix different colors up and see what would come out and try different techniques. And so I knitted with my own yarn for a while and then said, oh gosh, I have a lot of it now. Maybe I should try to see if other people would like it too. And decided to try seeing if people would be interested. And they have been. It's grown over time. But it's definitely been a creative outlet for me, which has been great.
And if you weren't designing, what do you think you would have ended up doing?
Except for she's a dyer.
That's right. That's the question. I had to ask the question. If you weren't a designer, what do you think you'd be doing?
Well, if I wasn't dying, so he is. Well, before I was a yarn dyer, I worked in the nonprofit field for a long time, and um, that was I'd probably still be doing that because I loved the work and loved the people, and that mattered to me. But I've always been kind of involved in my personal life in some kind of creative something, just for my own pleasure, and so that that would still be existing as well. So.
You said you've been knitting for about 15 years. Did you learn to knit by yourself, or do you have family members that taught you?
So I didn't remember that I had family members who knit. Actually, my mom shared with me, I don't know, a couple months ago that she and my grandmother were both knitters. They're both have been makers and crafters. My mom's an artist, and actually, as a kid, I remember her she had a large loom in our basement, and she spun her own wool, and she created a lot of fiber art. Actually, was a genre that she was interested in for a long time. So I remember that in my background, but as far as learning to knit, it was really just, I think one day I was in a craft store and saw some needles and yarn and thought it looked interesting and, looked up some videos and instructions and taught myself really. And then it's kind of been nonstop ever since.
What are you knitting right now?
I have more whips on the needles that I'm usually comfortable with. I think the current time. Um, Probably about 7,
Oh,
and I'm usually a pretty monogamous knitter, so this is kind of, a little outside my comfort zone. So, I have 2 sweaters on the needles, and then I have a dress that I'm knitting for my best friend's little girl.
oh,
She's definitely knit worthy,
yeah.
so I'm working on that, and and then I have my, standard blankets and other items that I pull out here and there as I need them. So, but definitely the 2 sweaters plus the dress are my active going back and forth right now. Yeah.
Do you have any? I have. Don't feel bad about the 7 whips because I've got 14 now. I've grown from 11 to 14. I just keep putting stuff down. I've got one on my desk right here, I have them strewn all over the house, really.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm never gonna get my hat.
Never, ever. We have one, but yeah, I still haven't weaved in the ends on that one. So yeah,
So floppy.
Awesome.
it's a little floppy. Do you have a joke?
So the only joke that comes to mind is one that my son thought was hysterical when he was little.
Okay, I'm ready.
So, what did the pillow say to the doctor?
What?
I'm all stuffed up.
That's cute.
That's a
It's
good kid
super
joke.
appropriate.
For right now, yeah, probably.
Yeah. Do you have any yarn trivia for Tony?
Oh, Afifa did such a good job in the last one. I saw that one. I don't know if I do have any more. I think she covered a lot.
She did 3 good ones, didn't
Oh,
she?
She did.
And do you want to tell anybody special, everybody, anything special about your yarn that I might have forgotten?
Um. Oh, I don't remember everything that you said. So.
Just like me. What's your favorite color?
So I all of my yarn is pretty much merino. It's various different blends. I have fingering weight on up to bulky. I do also have a mohair as well. My colors tend to be pretty kind of muted and softer. I do a lot of speckling, but I do have tonal yarns as well. And I think that's it. I don't know what else to share.
I know what I want. I've always wanted to know. I love your name. I love
Oh.
Speckled Finch Studios. And how did you come up with the name?
It's actually a really boring story. It's really not very interesting. Other than that, I had been sitting around for a while and just trying to think of different names that it possibly could be. And I ran across something that was a bunch of different kinds of birds. And I was like, oh, look at all of the different colors that the birds have, even from bird to bird, they're different. And so it kind of reminded me of yarn. And then the speckled piece, because I love playing with speckles, just made a lot of sense to be part of my name. And ran it across my family to see what they thought, and they all thought it was good. And so that's how Speckled Finch Studios came to be. It's not, was just kind of playing around with different names to see what sat right.
The story behind our, the Royal Bee Yarn Company is also a, we were sat in a garden. There were bees. Like, we were brainstorming different names, and I keep thinking that I need to come up with some sort of like rock and roll story for, You
were stung by bees.
Yeah, or something. I don't know.
The backstory.
The backstory. Yeah, we can have a bird and a bee backstory.
Right. We'll have to come up with something creative.
Right?
No, it won't be documented anywhere.
Right? Nothing's documented. Oh, Nina, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us and answer our silly questions. And we love you. Can't wait until we're able to do a in-person again and see you, and also a trunk show. That's going to be like just so wonderful and fun. So,
I'm so excited for it.
Nina and I've talked, and we'll do a trunk show, and then I'll be having her fibers in my shop on a regular basis. So
yay!
Go to Nina's website and check out her beautiful, beautiful yarn.
Thank you. Thanks you guys so much for having me on this. This has been really great and fun. And Kelly, I love you and think you're awesome. And I'm so thankful that we've met and become friends. And just thanks a lot. Yeah.
Same back at you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
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 Okay. Thanks, Nina.
Thanks, Nina. See what we did there?
Yeah.
See? Yeah, that was smooth, right? You never know. It was a different platform, etc. No. Yeah.
Talk about some more yarns, Cal. You're going to talk about
yeah. So I'm going to
Greenwood
talk about
fibers.
2 different yarns, kind of like a normal indie dyer price point, and then a slightly more affordable price point. The first person I'm going to talk about is Greenwood Fiberworks. And Carolyn is the dyer behind Greenwood Fiberworks, and she is actually based out of Utah.
Utah?
Much like,
Tristan. Dragonlords.
Dragonlord.
After she moved from Idaho, which was, she was never in Idaho.
She was never in Idaho.
That's just to make her laugh.
Yeah. Hi, Tristan.
Okay.
So I carry 3 bases in my shop. Her colors are just beautiful and delicate, and I'm going to start with my favorite because it's so incredibly, incredibly soft. And it is called Cashmere Delight, and it is baby alpaca, silk, and cashmere. It doesn't really come any softer than this. It's so beautiful. Delicate squish. Delicate. Oh, so delicate. Thanks. And then I have her Sublime, which is a merino cashmere nylon blend. Also super delicate squishing. Wow, it's almost disturbing how delicate you're being with it. And then Yakety Yak. And that is actually super wash merino silk and yak combination. What I love about her yarns are their eminently wearable colors. And they're just so beautiful and soft, and I just absolutely love them. And Carolyn is a wonderful person and very kind and helpful and supportive. And we've done a couple of trunk shows here. We've done 2 trunk shows here. She was actually my first trunk show ever, and it's time to do a new one. So
why are they called trunk shows?
I think it's a traditional, I'm making this up because I don't actually know, but I believe it's because people probably put the product in the back of their trunk and put it on the road.
Trunk show is. Some people
Maybe
might know
like
what a trunk
horse
show.
and wagon-y.
Because they were in trunks.
Yeah, is that the truth?
I don't know.
I think anybody who would watch this and is interested in yarn would definitely know what a trunk show was.
Yes, please let us know what a trunk show, the origin of a trunk show is.
They know what a trunk show is. So, yeah, so here are her absolutely spectacular, beautiful fibers and the 3 bases that I carry in the shop. And then
pink being your favorite color.
It is my favorite color. Well done, well done. Yeah. Well, you've known that my whole life. Well, yes. Practically my whole life since we met when you were just a wee young boy of 19.
I was in my teens. It was the 80s.
It was the 80s, yeah. So, okay, so I really wanted to get Spin Cycle in the shop, and I am on their waiting list to be a wholesaler. One of these days, they'll be in the shop. But in the meantime, I wanted something amazing that was a great yarn that could be used for all of the beautiful, like, shifty and shift along and so forth. And it turns out that Chappelle creates these Zyber balls.
Zilber balls.
That scares me when you do that, but that's okay. And they look pretty much just the same. And it's a really great price point. It's $13.99 for a ball. So
put out price
yeah.
There's
so
a lot of colors going on.
it ends up becoming really, really affordable. And they're really soft and beautiful, 100% wool.
Don't know whether to squish these or not.
Yeah, you can give them a firm squishing.
Yeah, I over squished the Royal Bee stuff.
That's okay. At least it's our own.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just love that. And I love their 50 grams, and they're a wonderful price point, and they come in a whole bunch of different color combinations. And actually, I have a few samples in the shop made up. I actually have a shifty made up in them. And and here's a hat.
Is it made from?
Yeah, it's made from 2 different colors, so it gives you a sense of how they work
give a
up.
close up on that because that's really.
It's really pretty, isn't it?
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice colour hat.
Yeah, it's a mosaic stitch.
Yeah.
It's an Andrea Mowry pattern.
Should I put it back on the rack?
Sure. Yeah, there we go. So those are two featured yarns that we carry here in the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think that's kind of it.
that's kind of it for
Yeah,
this week.
kinda
Episode
it.
5 is done. We are done with episode 5.
We're done with episode 5. Yeah. I can't believe we've done 5 episodes.
The shelter in place goes on, and we continue to function and deliver. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah, we're still doing doorstep delivery. We're still doing virtual shopping.
Yeah.
So email me. We can schedule an appointment. I'll take you around the shop and
and one day we
hopefully-
will do a show where we go around the shop when you're satisfied that it is to your standard, because I know we got a lot of stuff
I know.
moved around at the moment.
Honestly, I've just
Doing some spring cleaning and sorting and
then I'm like,
restructuring.
here's the time to like change it up.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, why did I do that? I put it all back to where it was before and kind of creating little messes here and there.
So these early episodes are going to be just me and Kelly and a special Zoom guest. So, eventually there will be real people.
Real human beings.
Right here.
With us. Yeah.
Like there.
Maybe.
Hey, I'm Shop Judy. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching. And we'll check in again with episode 6 next week.
Yeah.
So
See
thanks.
you next week.
So bye. Are we waving?
Bye.
We're still waving.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, we're still waving.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.